I am so privileged to be interviewing my next guest all the way in the East Coast, Paula Griffith. I just spoke to her for a few minutes and I had no idea I knew she was a compassionate grief coach. I knew that she helped moms cope with the loss of their child. I knew she lost her 11-year-old daughter, Chanel, in 2008 from an asthma attack. But I did not know that she pursued her bachelor's and that wasn't enough. So then she decided, I'm going to just get my master's while raising. Well, she had 4 kids, right? You lost Chanel, but with 3 kids, you decided I'm going to get a master's in business, leadership, and management. You work full time now while you're pursuing your compassionate grief coach path. And I am just in awe. She's an only child like me. She has a 12-year-old now that she is navigating the treacherous distance learning journey. So we talked about that, and I would love to hear, how do you find peace and renewed hope after a tragic loss, especially as a mom with other kids, or even if it's your only child? I mean, it just must be so devastating. How did you do it? And can you explain Chanel and your journey?
Well, I was very fortunate. I had good family members and I had good friends. So they helped me, with that path. Um, it was hard. It was a struggle I just lost one and pregnant, and then trying to maintain being happy despite grieving. It was a very hard thing to do. Um, I kind of suppressed a lot of it, so it was hard. So sometimes I think that me holding it in wasn't really a good thing, because the little girl I have now, I swear she gives me a run for my money. So I think that was all the grief that I held in. But I had her like 1 month after, and so I still had to try to be happy because I have this new baby. But it's a lot. It really is a lot. It's for a lot for someone who's just doing it without being pregnant. And then here I go being a new mom and trying to be so happy, and I'm dying inside because I just lost my daughter. And then I have 2 older sons, and I think that with them I could have done a little bit better, because I guess at that time everybody was so concerned with how I was feeling that they kind of got lost without anyone trying to figure out how they're feeling. No one ever checked on them and said, well, how y'all doing? Y'all just lost your sibling. So how are y'all feeling? So with that, my son said that to me the other day. So I kind of felt it, because I had to sit down and think about it, like, yeah, y'all did get kind of forgotten about, like, being a new mom. I'm not even thinking kind of, which was bad. Like, they kind of got lost in the transition.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell people now that if you have a child and you happen to go through this, which I hope no one ever does, make sure that you take the time to find out how they're doing as well. Because it's not just about you, because there's other people who are involved in your loss. So, I went on with that. And for years, I struggled with being happy. I stayed in, kind of like a recluse, kind of lost myself for a minute, but still trying to be strong, showing that strong. Yes, I'm like Wonder Woman,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm dying inside, and I'm not expressing it. Everybody thinks that I'm okay, and deep down, like, I'm sad, I'm crying inside, and not expressing it to anybody. So I had to seek therapy, and that got me through it a lot. But sometimes when you go to therapists and they get paid for that, but they not really, some of them wasn't relatable.
Mm-hmm.
So like, okay. And then I stopped, and I started taking trips and doing things with my friends, and that kind of got me out of my rut. I love to dance. So I started going, having fun time, and finally was able to get a little bit back to the new normal for me, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And that's where I'm at right now.
So do you think, what's your advice for parents who are going through this, or maybe they have a relative? How do you support a loved one who has gone through this or is going through this? Because it's never, I mean, that loss, I'm sure, is always with you, but how do you enjoy life without feeling guilty? Is that part of it too? Like, I just lost someone. How do I
Be
deserve
sad.
to be happy?
Well, you do deserve to be happy. For me, I know my little girl, and she was a happy, bubbly person. Like everyone who met her, they just loved her. She had that personality. So I know I would take her strength, knowing that she wouldn't want me to be sad. She would
Mm-hmm.
not want me to be crying and unhappy because she wasn't that type of person. So with that, I keep in mind that, oh, well, my daughter want me to be unhappy, and I'd be like, oh, no, she wouldn't. So with that, I take that and embrace it and move on with my life. Not that I forgot about her, because every chance I get, I talk about her. I actually wear her around my neck all the time. She stays with me. So this is my little tribute to her.
Oh,
Yeah, this is her.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I keep her close to my heart. So yeah, so for that, that's how I got through it. What I could recommend for other people is sometimes they just need your presence. Someone who's going through something like that, just to be present there. You don't even have to say anything. They just appreciate you just being there, even to hold their hand, because
Hmm.
you might say something and you think you're saying the right thing, but it's not relatable to them. So sometimes just to be present and just silence and let them talk, they'd appreciate that. Don't give any judgments on how long they should grieve, or no, they don't like that at all. You cannot tell a woman who lost a child how long they should grieve, or they should be over this. Wrong.
Or even
Wrong.
I know one of my friends said, "Oh, they're not suffering anymore," and she said that is like just she got so upset hearing that. So I think sometimes like what you just said, just your presence and not needing to say anything, because sometimes you want to. I didn't know what to say when my auntie lost her son, and I was so nervous and I didn't know what to say. And so when I went to the funeral, the line my friend said, just hug her, and that's it.
I just should appreciate that. That hug meant a lot to her. You're not passing no judgment. She just knows that you're there. And with that hug, she can feel all the love that you're giving her. So with that, she can appreciate that.
So, I was just curious to know, as a compassionate grief coach, what can people, why should someone need I think definitely a compassionate grief coach probably understands more than a therapist. And you're talking about how some of the therapists that you saw weren't relatable. What makes a compassionate grief coach like more, I don't know, probably can provide more healing, right? I would think.
Well, yeah, see, for me, I'm trying to be a grief coach for grieving moms since I don't become relatable for them. So when they come to me, they be like, oh, okay, she has some experience because she knows how I'm feeling. So when they talk to you, they don't feel like they're going to be judged. And even if you go to therapy, they're not supposed to judge you, but it's just they just listening to you, and it's just like a wall. To me, that's
Yes.
how I felt. Like it was just a wall. And I was like, oh, this person doesn't understand what I'm going through. So that's why I'm trying to that's why when I go online, I try to let them know I'm here. I understand how you're feeling. I can relate to. So I'm relatable. So if you need
Hmm.
someone to talk to on any of a given day, I didn't tell them they can DM me. I'm a listen there for you. I'm
How can
there.
they find you, Paula?
I'm on Grieving Moms at Grieving Moms on Instagram. And I'm still working on my group on Facebook. That's not up yet, but it's going to be Grieving Moms on Facebook as well. And so I'm working on that now. I'm hopefully have all of my elements together by next month.
Wow. So what can someone expect? I mean, it sounds like you're almost, like you're ready to launch this program. Are there different steps involved, or what can they expect if someone signs up for your program?
Well, what I'm trying to get them is to try to come out of grief and implement some joy and happiness into their life. Um, no one wants to be sad forever. You're always going to grieve. That's never going to go away. You're always going to have that notion that, oh, my child is not here. Yes. But you can also continue to live and do things that you still enjoy and still have that feeling, but move on in life. Don't get stuck in it. It's too much weight when you're just
Mm-hmm.
stuck in grief. It's heavy. It's heavy. God knows. It's heavy. And it took me, I would like to say, about a good, she's passed 12 years now. So for me, I would say five out of those 12. It took me 5 years to start to get back to feeling a little bit normal, even though I'm never going to be 100%. Think I'm back at 80. I didn't do a lot. I shut down. I stopped going places. I stayed home with the baby. I just went from work to home. There was no other outdoor activities, just home, work, and just with the kids. And I had to stop that. I was just giving up on life and just felt like it was sucking me dry. And I didn't want to feel
Mm-hmm.
that anymore. So I had a girlfriend, um, and we started doing things. I'm from the West Indies. My parents are West Indian. So we started going out to little soca events and parties and just the music. The music is what helped me. I love music. I love soca music. So it's like a little whining going on. You got your
Uh-huh.
little wine here and there, and you're good with that. And that makes me feel good. And so I like when I go out. From staying in, it's not good for you. You have to implement joy, happiness. Go outside, smell the roses, get some fresh air, enjoy nature. That's a lot
Mm-hmm.
that can get you through it. Have good friends. You need those. Just have friends that you know are genuine. Those
Mm-hmm.
genuine friends will get you through it. And if you have your family, they have some more family members that's there more few than others. You know, just lean towards those ones that show their support for you.
I love that. Implement joy. I think a lot of us aren't implementing joy during this pandemic because there's a lot of fear, a lot of sadness and loss. When you think about it, it's a loss of
Too
what
many people,
life used to be. Yeah. So and losing a child, it's almost like you're losing a part of you, right? But do you
definitely.
recommend people talking about their child to do you talk about your Chanel to
All the
your
time.
all the time
All
to
the
the
time.
your to their siblings and
Oh
keep her
yes,
memory?
even my little girl, the one that I had the month after. Oh,
Uh-huh.
she knows us. We talk about it. And actually, she wears her chain. She had a little chain that said Chanel, so she wears her chain around her neck every day.
Wow.
So so I explained to her like how excited that she was to become a big sister, and she was, she used to talk to my stomach all the time and tell her she can't wait. She's gonna be the best big sister ever, and
So do you think having a strong faith also helped that knowing do you believe that things happen for a reason, that there was a reason for this loss?
I'm gonna be honest. When it happened, I did lose faith because I couldn't understand why this was happening to me. But and eventually had to think that God had a different plan. And at her homegoing, I had a pastor who said, they never belonged to you; they were just loaned to you. And God came back and got back His angel. And when he said it, I was like, why would you say that? But when you sit down and you think about the way that he broke it down, it just kind of made sense. So with that kind of helped as well with me through my healing process, because it started to play in my mind. Maybe he was right. Maybe we all just loan to people, and then when it's time, he just comes back and he gets you. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and with that, I can live. And funny thing is, right after she died, and it felt so real. Like I felt that she came to me and told me that she was going to be okay. And it was like, I don't know if I was in a deep sleep, but she came to me. She told me she was going to be okay and not to worry about her. And
Wow.
yeah, it was
So
deep.
maybe
So
having that belief, because I know sometimes I've wanted that. My dad died in 2016, and I wanted him to, I don't know, enter my dreams or just tell me something, and I'm still waiting.
oh yeah,
And then sometimes, I mean, I see butterflies and I think, okay, daddy, if you're around, show me a butterfly, but can you just like give me a message? And I think if we don't get the message, my daughter said, but it could be just little things like this book. someone told me who talked to the afterlife that he was there and he helped me with this book, or knowing that it doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, he is speaking to me.
Right.
Like even your daughter, the 12-year-old now, I mean, I bet do you see her? Do you see Chanel in her too? Or just like
Yes,
that
I
maybe
do.
she is a big sister in her own way, not
Yes.
physically there.
But yeah, she does have some similarities, just a little bit, not, but what I don't do, I don't want her to be like a replacement.
Yes, definitely.
I keep them separate, I just let her know that I love her. And I don't expect anything. I don't expect you to be like your older sister because you're your own person,
Hmm,
your
hmm, hmm.
own being. So, but she does have little similarities.
Well, knowing that those that we've lost are still with us spiritually, that even though it's a loss, like I love how you said that, how they're loaned to us, but we feel such ownership, like even when your child, I don't know how you are with are your older ones out of the home?
Oh, one. My
One.
old Yeah, yeah, my oldest son, he left. So he's on his own. But my younger son is still here and he's 29.
But isn't the pandemic and the whole like what we envision parent to be is often so different than than we experience. And I think especially, I don't know if you get this as an only child, I never had to share things, or it's just different, right? And you're in
Oh,
the
it is
I
different.
guess the stereotype is that you're spoiled, but I think I was just never, I always said I was well taken care of, but I didn't know how to, there's like the last ice cream or there's the last something and then it's gone. Before I used to think, wait a minute, why is this, wait, and then you realize, isn't it different when and you have, right?
I
You
had
have more than one.
Yes. I never wanted to just have one.
Me too. I
And
think
the
if you're
funny
an
thing,
only child, you don't want just one because
no,
and when you see
no.
other people with one, you think, don't you want to say, you know what? It's really, I don't know. I mean, I get it. My cousin just wanted one so that she could just do everything for that child. But I think if you can and if you are open to it, I just think it's so, I envy people with siblings.
I used to always ask my mother, I was like, oh, why don't you just have one more? I said, and then the funny thing I would tell her, I said, what happens if anything happens to me? What would happen to you? How would you feel? I used to say that to her all the time. I used to tell her that. It's like, you should have another one because God forbid something happens to me. Who do you have to fall back on? But she wouldn't budge. She wasn't going for it. But it was just like I sat down and I said, wow, I used to say this to my mother. And never in a million years did I expect that this would happen to me. You know, I used to say,
Wow.
I mean, like it's just a lot. That was my little girl. Like, why her?
But you know what? The mission that you're choosing, helping so many grieving moms who probably feel so alone and hopeless, right? Because they just don't know who to turn to. I mean, I think what you're doing is just such a compassionate and giving thing to do because like you said, you can relate to it.
I want to
And I
be close
think if
to
you're
someone.
alone, right, and especially with the virtual thing, they don't have to physically be
No,
in your city, they can do everything can be virtually and you can still feel that connection.
yes, yes, and I just want to be an example to people that life does continue after there's a loss, especially if your kid and it's heavy and yes, you don't want to go on but then you still have to think about the other kids that you do have. You got to think about yourself. What good are you if your kids can't rely on you? Like you go into this deep hole, you still have other ones you know, to be happy for, that be grateful that you still have those kids.
Hmm,
And
hmm.
and I look at it too, God took one and then I got three little girls now. So I have my daughter that I gave birth to a month after, and now I have two little extensions, which my little grandgirls. And so,
Wow.
yeah, so I can live with that. So I have to be strong for them. I can't curl up into a ball. And some days I have my moments. I have my moments where I will sit down and just reflect on, wow, how would she have been at this age? Because she would be 24 now. She'd be 24 if she was still here. So I sometimes you go back to thinking like, oh, I wonder how they'll be if she was how she would be if she was still here. Would she be in school? So you have all those thoughts, and then reality kicks back and it's like you'll never know.
And to have peace with that.
Yes, I've learned to adapt to peace. I'm at peace. I've accepted that she's not here, and I went through my healing. And like I said, you'll never be 100%. You're always going to have those moments,
Hmm.
but I can live with it. I can live with it, and I have to be happy for the other people still that God has still left in my life. Gave me two new little girls that I can be an example to, and then I can explain to them how they had this fantastic aunt that they will never know. But if she was here, she would love them just the same.
Wow, that's beautiful. And I think your proof that life can go on, that you can be happy, and like you said, the grief never ends, but you can still be happy and appreciate life, which is, I think all of us are learning that now, especially feeling, when we had to do quarantine and we had to do all of this and we felt so ripped off, like why is life, then I see these 5-year-olds with their little masks and they don't know any better because this is life now. They don't know, but it just shows that, when they're playing, they're laughing with their little mask, and you think it is possible no matter, I guess, what's going on, what tragedy, right, you experience, that there is hope
Yes.
and there is joy. And I think with you, with compassion, anything is possible. I mean, I love what you're doing. Thank you so much, Paula.
Thanks
I
for
really
having.
appreciate it. And we have Deslin to thank for connecting us. Please
Yes,
reach
thank
out. I
you.
understand that Paula just shared the wonderful interaction she's been having with her 12-year-old and distance learning.
Oh
So,
no, that's the worst. Don't. I can't wait for them to go back into school. They said they're not ready for this. They're not equipped for it. They're not. They need to be in school and doing social. They need it because a lot of these kids are gonna be lost because they didn't have no social interaction with their peers. I
yeah.
feel
Yeah.
I do. Like I gotta admit, these kids are different than when we were growing up. They're different.
Very, very different. I mean, you were mentioning that you had that discipline, and you did it online, right? Was
Oh
it
yes,
bachelor's and master's online? Can you
yes.
imagine doing middle school online, doing fifth grade online, and even, I mean, my daughter, my younger one, is just doing college online after doing the drive-by graduation, right? It was the first drive-by
Oh my.
graduation. And I just said, there's a lot of pressure to do all, be all, be a success, be happy. And I said, this 2020 year, it's almost like I think a lot of people are don't you think they're going to be given a pass? Oh, you graduated 2020. Oh, that was the year. I mean, I think if anything, there will hopefully be compassion
Yes, they
with
should have.
whoever. Yeah, because school, like you said, but hopefully, I mean, I believe that we will, the kids will catch up. They might not, like we mentioned before, it's not all about academics. And I think with the
Not.
emotional, right, emotional EQ will help them heal and grow. Since the
Yeah,
IQ might not be there, EQ will more than make up for it, and we will get back to, maybe this
absolutely.
is what needs to happen to just really change education, because it wasn't really working to,
No, but it did show you one thing that they still can move on without you going to school, and a lot of things have changed because of this pandemic for sure. Even for the people who are working, um
yes.
a lot of things. I mean, I kind of like it because I like being home because I'm home with
Hmm.
her. So luckily my job was able to put everything in place for me to work at home so I can stay home with her. And actually when she go back to school, I don't think I'm going back into the office. I'm not going back on the
Well, I
train
think
to
that's what a lot of people are realizing. You can work at home and you can, I mean,
be
it
productive.
is very, you're balancing a lot when you have multiple kids around, but it does show you how, yeah, it can be so different, a lot of evolving and growth. But thank you so much, Paula.
No
I
problem.
really
Thank you
enjoyed
for having
myself.
me,
It was a
Karen. I
very
really
touchy topic that I think needed to be addressed. And I thank you so much for sharing
thank
your compassion, doing what you're doing. And I know that a lot of people who are experiencing grief of losing a child will definitely please connect with Paula, and she'll be there for you.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.